There you go. You can't see that seam anywhere. You don't know which one is the seam. You do not. Brenda, you don't. Mary, Nope, Alice, don't go there. Nuh-uh, not today. You can't see that seam. So we're going to do a seam on the outside that nobody will see. And I'm not going to point out which one it is. I love you guys. Okay, so I know I always say, okay, so, right? At some point, someone's going to turn that into a drinking game. Ladies, let's not. Hello and welcome to 1980, the year of my birth. In fact, in June is my birth month as well. This is a pattern I've been holding on to for several months. I knew I was going to want to make this as my birthday pattern video. It's 1980s. It's 1980. I've always loved this style of hoodie. And the other day I just picked up some beautiful yarn for this. It is not the right yarn in any way, shape, or form for this pattern. But let me tell you what I've been doing with this pattern to get to know it a little bit before I go teaching it to the world, right? Nowhere, anywhere on this pattern, in this pattern, does it tell you that this is for children. Absolutely not. When I picked up the pattern, there was no indication that this is a pattern for children. I suppose those pictures look like children. To me, it looked like women. I didn't put it together that this is for children. This jacket, whenever it's done, from your shoulder seam all the way down to the ribbed hem, is only 18 inches after being blocked. I prefer a 21 to 22 inch length shirt. The shoulders are only 17 inches, not shoulders, but sleeves. I used one of my own thin, exactly similar style jackets to model the one I'm already making for myself. And it's 22 inch sleeve on that one. And that sleeve comes just to right here on me. So this is for children. I started making it without realizing it was for children. It said to work like 16 rows. And at 16 rows, it measures approximately 10 inches long. And that's before you get to the underarm area. And then you work another 8.5 inches for the underarm area, or for the armhole area, a total of 18 inches. I'm like, no, ma'am, I can't do that. So, okay, I'm going to show you how to make this essentially in my size. But of course, I'm also going to show you the best way to make this in your size. It's very easy. Fortunately, this type of pattern doesn't require specified stitch counts. You literally make it to your measurements. I'm kind of a big fat nerd, and I like playing video games. And some of you might remember this bag here. This is the 1980s duffel bag, but inside of it is something really cool. I already started making this jacket for a purpose. And this coming fall, I will be attending the Fallout New Vegas event in Nevada. I like Fallout games. I like all Bethesda games. I like all the Elder Scrolls games. I also like Borderlands and Fable and Modern Warfare Call of Duty. So I already started making my Vault Tech jacket. If you play video games, you know exactly what this jacket is supposed to look like. Here's a picture if you don't. Okay, so yes, I don't intend on going full cosplay, but I am going to wear a crocheted Vault Tech jacket. So here, like I said before, I worked out all of the measurements to fit me. These measurements, best practices to get a sweatshirt or a hoodie jacket that you already own, and just size everything to that. Just a moment. This is a t-shirt material. It's from Hanes, you know, boop. It's a large. It's from Hanes, so it's just a regular old t-shirt material, but it's in a hoodie style, and it has Merlin hair on it. This is the one. This fits me exactly the way I want my Vault Tech jacket to fit. It fits slightly loose, but also exactly like the pattern looks. Really quite fitting. So this is the hoodie I have been basing all of my measurements on. This is the front. I already started a front panel, and the front panel, you know, it fits it perfect. That's all you got to do is get something you already own. That's the best way, so that you're not sitting there draping your measuring tape all around every inch of you. But yeah, look at that. That's the front of my Vault Tech jacket. Actually, it's going to go on this side because I like this seam is cleaner. So the other side will have a clean seam and go there. And then I have zippers. Look at this. I have zippers. This is the zipper that I will be using for mine. And I just thought it looked really cool and really fun. They have the stoppers. I got the whole bag of zippers on Amazon for $10 or $11. So I thought that was a pretty good score. And it's going to fit perfect. Look at that. Originally, because it's a little longer up there, but that's okay because the hoodie, as you can see, the hoodie is going to pull some of that open. So it doesn't have to go all the way to the very top. And I never zip anything up to the very top. So their stitch is this right here. And that is a double crochet front loop, next stitch over back loop, next stitch over front loop. So it's an alternating front loop, back loop, double crochet. This is an altered version of it. And as you can see, it's not opening up. You can clearly see the difference. This is their stitch. This is my stitch. This still alternates front loop, back loop every other stitch, but it's a linked double crochet, front loop, back loop every other stitch. Huge difference. And it doesn't change in size. The gauge is the same with this and this. It's exactly the same. Up here we have just straight, 2 rows of just straight link double crochet and a 5mm hook. These were also worked in 5mm hook, which the pattern recommends, but of course I'm using a way thicker yarn. Up here we have link double crochet with the 6mm hook, which is the way I think I'm gonna go. I have yet to decide if I'm gonna do this alternate front loop, back loop though. I do like the texture, it's kind of fun, but I also like the very clean look of just straight link double crochet. And the reason I want to go with linked is because this is a jacket. It should function like a jacket. It should be warm. And this is just with a slight tugging. Look, I'm exaggeratingly stretching it like this, right? So let's relax it. And just with the slightest tug. So when you go to put your hands in your pockets, that's what's going to happen. And that is not very warm. This is. And with the alternate front loop, back loop, it still works. So I leave it entirely up to you. I gave you all of the samples. As far as yarn size goes, it is basically a number 4 worsted weight or an Aran weight, but we're talking 1980s Aran or number 4 worsted weight, which is a little bit thinner than what's today. So I would say a light worsted. Now, does that matter? No, it really doesn't, because this is a children's pattern disguised as an adult pattern. So you're going to have to change your stitch count anyway. So it doesn't matter. The gauge doesn't matter anymore whenever you have to go so far off the pattern just to make it fit you. Now, so to figure out how big I need to make the back portion, because that's what we're going to start with, is the back portion. I have my jacket here laid completely flat. So what I need, and this is what I recommend you do as well, get your favorite sweatshirt, hoodie, whichever. So what I need, it's, for example, it is at the very bottom, it is 22 inches. Okay, I know you can't see that, it's off camera, but it's 22 inches. Up here at the waist, it is 20.5 inches. And then just above the very, very bottom, it's also 21.5 inches. Okay, so it looks like what I'm going to need is somewhere between 21 and 22 inches. And if it hits at 22 inches, that's okay. So I'm going to make a chain that will reach this. And with using the link double crochet, whatever I chain is what my exact stitch count is going to be. So using this thicker, they're calling this a bulky 5. It's a little lighter than a bulky 5. It's definitely thicker than a number 4 worsted or an Aran. So using this thicker yarn and a 6mm hook, we shall see how many chains I'm going to need. So here we go. I'm going to fast forward through this for you. 60, 61, 62. Okay, so it looks like 62 stitches is what I need for my size. Now, I'm starting off with a size ever so slightly smaller. So my chain is actually at 19.5 inches, but my experience working with this stitch and also making my Vault-Tec jacket, this is going to grow by probably another 2 inches. So let's get into the link double crochet stitch. And I promise you, by the time I fill this chain up, it's going to grow. Okay, so with the, let me move you down this way a little. With the link double crochet, I have the exact stitch count I want. I'm going to add 2 extra stitches as my builder. In the second stitch from the hook, draw up a loop like Tunisian crochet. Hold it there. Next stitch over, again, draw up a loop like Tunisian crochet. Now this stitch we just drew up a loop from is our base foundation stitch. That's the stitch we're going to build. That's going to become our regular stitch. What I mean is these were builders. This is the stitch we're actually, okay, here we go. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That makes 1 full stitch. Now, here we have, if you're new to link double crochet, here we have the top of our stitch, just our normal stitch. Here is the side of our stitch. Here is the hook, so you really get an idea. This is the side of our stitch. And you see we have 3 bars on the side of our stitch. This first bar here is this first bar here is the top of the side top of our stitch. The second bar down is the one we're going to work into, and the third bar down we're going to ignore completely. This is the bar that we're going to work into. We treat this bar like a yarn over with a regular double crochet. This is how they are linked. So we go into that second bar down. Again, here's the top of my stitch. Here is the second bar down. That's the one I'm going to work into. You go into that stitch and you pull up a loop. Now that is your yarn over. Next, back bump over. You should be working these in the back bump. Next, back bump over, draw up a loop, and complete your double crochet like normal. Pull through 2, pull through 2. Now you can see we have this interesting set of bars down here. These are the bars that we're going to work into. They stand out when you turn the stitch to the side. They stand out the most. Okay? This is, as we continue to make stitches, these bars are going to draw you right into the next bar you need to work into. We're going to create an interesting line. So now we work back into that second bar down, that side bar. Draw up a loop that acts like your yarn over. Next, back bump over. We draw up a loop and we complete our double crochet. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and there's our bar. Our line is leading us right to the next bar we need to work into for our yarn over. So we go into that bar, draw up a loop. Now your first row, you're going to probably work it like this, with instead of your work being this way, it's probably going to be this way. When we get to the second row, your work will be normal like this, but it is easier to work it this way for your first because of the starting chain. So now we go into the next chain over, the next back bump over, pull up a loop, draw through 2, draw through 2, and there's our bar. That line leads us right to the bar, and it sticks out, as you can see. It just sticks out. You really can't miss it. It's just right there. Okay? And when you get familiar with the stitch, which doesn't take long, it's a really fun stitch, then you can start to go really fast because it just becomes second nature. And it is the best double crochet you can work for just about anything because it's linked. And it creates this interesting line texture I really like. But look at that. It's there. Those stitches are linked. So this stitch doesn't have a lot of give this way, but it will have give going up and down once we put some more rows on, especially with us working front loop, back loop. And it is absolutely one of my favorite stitches to use. Okay. I'll be right back. I'm going to work this all the way to the end, and I'll show you how we work up to the round 2 with link double crochet. Okay, so after working my first row of link double crochet, it has grown from 19.5 inches to 21.5 inches. That's perfect for me. Considering the back of my work, the back of my jacket is 21 inches here, 21.5 inches here, so this is perfect for me. So yes, I started off with a chain of 62. That chain was 19.5 inches. After working my first row of link double crochet, it has grown to 21.5 inches. So now we're just going to move on from here. I'll show you how to work row 2 now of the link double crochet and let you know how many rows you need to work or how many inches. Let's go ahead and work row 2, and row 2 is our 1 row repeat. So for link double crochet, again, we need that 2 chain builder. So we chain 2 and turn. Now, in the first chain we made and working only in the front loop only of that chain, let's go ahead and do our loop. So we're going to treat that like the sidebar. So we go into that front loop only of that first chain and pull up our loop. Now into the very first stitch, and I'm going to do front loop, back loop. So I'm going to start with back loop. I'm going to work a back loop, double crochet. Go into my sidebar, which is right here. And the next stitch over will be front loop. And I will work that double crochet. Now here is my sidebar right here. Now I will work next stitch, back loop, double crochet, sidebar, front loop, double crochet, sidebar, back loop. This is going to create a really thick texture. So if you don't want your texture this thick, then just work through the whole stitch. Okay, sidebar. And now we work front loop. So this is the repeat all the way to the end, and for every row until you reach 13 inches, work front loop. There we go. Now back loop, front loop. Every time I say front loop, I feel like I'm saying Fruit Loop. So back loop, Fruit Loop, back loop, Fruit Loop. Okay. I love Fruit Loops. All right. And that was back. I can tell because I have my front loop unworked, so I now know the next stitch is going to be a front loop. Okay, and so that's the texture. It's not too much different actually than working just regular, working through both loops with link double crochet. Okay, so I will be back. I'm going to go ahead and work this 1 row repeat until I have my 13 inches. I will be right back. Okay, so real quick, what I've been doing just so that I can have a nice straight edge that has some strength and some stability because they have to be sewn together, is I am not working either front loop or back loop for my first or last stitch. I am working through the full stitch, both loops, for just my first and last stitch. Then I'll look down and I'll see, okay, so this stitch, my next stitch over was I worked, I skipped the back loop. So now I'm going to go ahead and work front loop. There we go. And then go from there. Then back loop, then front loop, then back loop, then front loop. And then the last stitch, I will work the full stitch. And that's giving me a nice clean edge on both sides, as you can see. So I like it. So that's what I'm doing. If you want to do that, I would recommend, because these do have to be sewn together, and it's good to have some good stable stitches to work into for sewing. Okay, that's it. I'm going to continue to work. Okay, so I finished my back panel. I'm going to try to get these measurements on camera for you, but I just don't have the greatest setup. I am at exactly 13 inches. Here, I'll pull this up. Nope. Do wish I had a little bit of a better setup. Okay, I'm at exactly 13 inches. So I stood up and wrapped this around my back to see how well it was going to fit. And not as well as I was hoping. It's still just a teeny bit too small. So what I did, I don't think it's going to be super noticeable because of the fuzziness of the yarn. I went ahead, I ended here, and I went ahead and worked a round of half double crochets along the side. I worked only single crochets along the bottom because I'm not looking for more length. And then I came up and ran my half double crochets up here to the top, and I didn't cut because I still have to work out the armholes. So now I am at exactly 22 inches, which will work for me. I am at exactly 22 inches. So here, wish I had a little bit of a better setup for filming. Here we go. Okay, I had to hold my phone up, but you can see I'm at exactly 22 inches now. So that will work for me. Here we go. Moving on to the armholes now. So for the armholes, what we're going to do, go ahead and get you a stitch marker. And on the opposite side of your work, count 7 stitches in and mark that 7th stitch. We're going to stop working stitches at that point. Okay. We're going to, on this side, slip stitch. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 because that's the side of my half double crochet there. But I'm going to treat the side of that half double crochet like a stitch. So you can see this is the side of my half double here. Here is the side. So you can see this is my half double crochet right here. Here is the side of my half double. I'm going to go ahead and treat that like a stitch since I basically added 2 more stitches. And we're going to slip stitch across 7 stitches. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Chain 2 if you're working the link double crochet stitch. If you're not working the link double crochet stitch, you're working the regular front post and back post double crochet, then instead of chaining 2, just probably go ahead and chain 1 for a little bit of a builder, and then just yarn over and into the next stitch over. Start with your back loop and then carry on like that. But if you're working the link double crochet, chain 2 for your builder, and then of course go into that front loop of your first chain. Now into the next stitch over, that's the stitch I'm currently in, so the next stitch over, and start working your front loop, back loop, but I'm going to work the whole stitch actually because I want that strength where I'm going to sew. Nope. Oh, girl. Get it together. Okay. Then just pick up your sidebar. Now I'm going to start working back loop, front loop until you get to 2 stitches before the stitch marker. We're going to work 2 double crochet together, and I'll show you how we'll do that with link double crochet. Okay, so work your way all the way over to the last 2 stitches before the stitch marker. So I will be right back. Okay, let's go ahead and work this join double crochet. I just have 1 more regular stitch to work. So now what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to work these through both loops again for that stability. Draw up my loop, go into the next stitch, pull through just 2. Now, just like if we're doing a stacked single, the loop right there that our working yarn is coming out of, go ahead and treat that like your next sidebar. Pick that up, next stitch over, pull up a loop, pull through 2. You should have 3 on the hook, pull through all 3, and that is a joined double crochet. Let's go ahead and chain 2 for our builder. Again, the first chain, let's do the front loop only. Skip the joined double crochet, skip it, and into the next stitch after that, start working your regular stitches. And I'm going to work through both loops again for that stability. Pick up my sidebar. Now I go back loop. Oh, this is some fuzzy yarn, y'all. Okay, then front loop. I'm going to continue to work like this until I get to the end here. I have my last 2 stitches. That's this, the chain right there, that doesn't count. So my last 2 stitches, I'm going to work those, work those into a joined double crochet again. Okay, so I will be back when I get down to the other end, where I will show you the joined double crochet again. Okay, so I'm at my last 2 stitches now. Let's work that link double crochet 2 together. Go into the second to last stitch, pull up a loop. Now into that stitch right there, that sidebar right there, draw up another loop, go into the very last stitch, pull through 2, have 3 on the hook, pull through all 3, chain 2. Row 3 is going to be the same as the last row we just worked. So I'm going to go ahead and start my link double crochet. Skipping over the last stitch. There we go. And it looks really nice and clean and smooth. And there we go. And again, when you get to your last 2 stitches, just work those together, link double crochet 2 together. A decrease. We'll just call it a decrease to simplify it. That's a mouthful, you know. So also row 4 will be worked exactly the same way. Row 5 is where we're going to change things up just a little bit. So this was row 1, row 2. We're currently working on row 3. Go ahead and do row 4 the exact same way, and then come on back for row 5. Okay, so here is where we should be at now. This is row 5. So this pattern's just slightly quirky at this point. Row 5, we're going to do things ever so slightly different, and then it wants us to repeat row 2 for the next either 6, 8, or 10 times. But of course, that whole 6, 8, or 10 times doesn't matter because we're making this based on inches. Unless you are following this pattern, you pick up this pattern and want to follow it actually for a child. What I will do is, here is the top of my jacket. I'm just going to grab it by the seam up here at the very top. Again, here's my hoodie. So here is the very shoulder seam right here, the very top. Lay that out flat. And I know that from here to here is about 9 inches. There we go. I'm going to work mine to about 9.5 inches because I want just a little bit more with this thicker yarn. This is a nice thin t-shirt material, you know. Got a little bit of a thicker yarn. So I'm going to go probably about 9.5. If I go ever so slightly more than that, that's going to be fine with me. I just want that shoulder movement without it being too tight under my arm. Okay, so let's go ahead and start row 5. Row 5 will be a little different. Let's chain 3, turn. So because I'm working the link double crochet, I'm going to use the second chain down to start my link. If you're not working the link double crochet, then don't worry about doing that part at all, but still chain 3 because that's what's in the instructions. We're going to skip the first stitch like we have been, and in the next stitch over, let's just continue to work our regular stitch pattern. Back loop, then front loop. Now when we get down to the end of this row, instead of ending with a decrease, we're just going to work the stitch, a regular stitch, into the last stitch. I'll be right back when we get down to the end of row 5. Okay, so I just have 1 stitch left for row 5, and I'm going to go ahead and work through the whole stitch. Now we're just going to maintain the current stitch count that we have all the way to the end of this back panel. So I'm going to chain 2 for my builder, and we're just going to work 1 stitch over each stitch, no more decreasing. So we're just going to work business as usual. Now, for how many rows? That's entirely up to your fit. The pattern calls for it to be repeated 6, 8, or 10 times, but again, that's for children's sizes. So for me, I'm probably going to repeat this 9 more times. As I'm trying to stick with the more medium size, the medium size says 8. I'm going to go with 9 because I'm looking for 9.5 inches. So I'm probably going to repeat this 9 more times, maybe 10. I'm not sure. I'm not really concerned with row counts. I'm more concerned with inches. So the measurements. So I'm going to keep working this row because it says to repeat the row 2 on the back. And so row 2 is just our regular 1 row repeat. So this is going to be row 1 of who knows how many rows at this point, however many rows it takes for me to get from this point right here, this point right here to a total of 9 inches. So I will be back whenever I have reached that point, and I'll let you know how many rows it was. But I don't know that it will really apply to the one you're making, as we're probably using 2 completely different yarn sizes and hook sizes, or maybe not. But I will be back whenever I get to the top. Probably would be helpful if I gave you the measurements. So I'm at 14.5. Here we go. Yeah, about 14.5 inches for the remainder going up. Okay, so there we go. Just going to continue to repeat that 1 row repeat. I'll be right back. Now we're going to do the front panel portion. I already did one of the front panels for the jacket I'm making right now, so I know I need about 11 and around 1/4. It was just slightly under 1/4 inches. It doesn't really matter because that's what fits me, you know, so it's not going to be the same as what you will need. But just wanted to show you, I used my jacket to figure out how many inches I need for that. And for me, that was 32 stitches in the particular type of yarn I'm using with the 6mm hook. That's not going to be the same for you because you're probably going to use different yarn and a different hook. But I just wanted to show you that this is how I came up with that number. So let's get into the actual how to make the front panel. Give you a quick update on the progress. Because I don't know exactly the sizes I need for this one, I've been stitching it together and making sure that it all is working out as I go. So I've already done 1 sleeve, and the way I did the sleeve, again, I'm invoking my birthday girl privileges here. I went completely off pattern for the sleeve, but it created a very beautiful, almost seamless looking sleeve, and with the cuff. So I'm going to show you how I did all of that. It really just, it looks really nice. It has a nice fold without an ugly crease and no sewing. Okay, so here is my front panel. And yeah, it was just slightly over 11 inches is what I needed. And for this yarn, for the hook I'm using, that was 32 stitches plus 2 for my builder. So let's get into that. Okay, so I have my 32 chains. I'm going to chain 2 for my builder, and the pattern says to basically make 2 panels following the back portion, the back panel following all the way up to the armhole. So however many rows you worked to reach the armhole portion, go ahead and repeat that. That's going to be for both panels. Since these are kind of interchangeable until you sew them in, it doesn't really matter. Like there's no specific way to do the right panel or the left panel. They're both identical. So I'm just going to go ahead, and since I'm working with link double crochet, I'm just going to go ahead and work my links all the way to the end. There we go. And I'll be right back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is work a total of 22 rows for the first or for the second front panel that I'm making here, and that's going to equal the same number of rows that I worked on the full back panel to get to the point of the armholes. So after I reach 22 rows, I will be back and we will go over how to work the armhole portion, which is really, really easy. And then we will move on to a little bit of assembly and the sleeves. A little bit of assembly, a lot of assembly. We're going to go ahead and attach the shoulders and the sides, and then we're going to start working out the sleeves. Then we'll do the pocket and the hood. Okay. Okay, so I have my 22 rows worked up. So now we're going to turn without chaining and work 7 slip stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to go ahead and chain 2 for my link double crochet builder. It wants us to start working our front loop, back loop double crochets all the way to the end. So you can, if you're working the regular double crochet, what I would do is just slip stitch over 1 more and work your chain 3 there for your first double crochet. Then you can start working your regular double crochets after that. I'm going to use my 7th stitch here to work my builder, since this doesn't count as a stitch. Now in the next loop over, I'm going to go ahead and start with back loops and back loop and front loop. Singular, not plural. Okay, and then you're going to work these all the way to the last stitch, and then we will work the next stitch up. So go ahead and work your last double crochet into your last stitch, or your last link double crochet as normal. I will be right back. Okay, let's go ahead and work up row 2 of our armhole area. So I'm going to start with my builder. Into the very first stitch, not skipping anything on this side. Okay, so we're going to work our front loop and back loop all the way to the last 2 stitches, where we're going to work a 2 double crochet together if you're working just regular double crochets. If you're working the linked double crochet like I am, I'm going to show you how to do that. I mean, I went over it before, but it doesn't hurt to go over it again. So I will be right back when I get down to the end here, ignoring these, just like we did for the back panel. Okay, let's work that link double crochet 2 together, or link double crochet decrease. We'll just make it easier by calling it that. So we'll start our stitch as usual, and then I'm going to work through both loops instead of front or back. Again, just for the sewing stability. So you go in and you pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to treat this forward loop right here that the working yarn is coming out of, right here. We're going to treat that like the sidebar. Go in and pull up a loop, come to the next stitch over, draw up a loop, pull through 2, 3 on the hook, draw through all 3. Chain 2, and I'm going to go ahead and start my link, and we're going to skip the decrease, and into the next stitch over we start working our stitch as usual. And of course my first stitch is always through both loops. Now I look down here and I can see I have a loop right there, a back loop, so I'm going to go ahead, or a front loop, so I'm going to go ahead and work back or front loop on this one. Boy, I don't know what I'm trying to say, do I? Feel like Elmer Fudd, abdi. That's all, folks. Okay, finish row 3 all the way to the end, and then work up to the next row, row 4, work it all, nothing changes on this side, work it all the way down to the last 2 stitches where you're going to work your double crochet decrease, and then come on back whenever you're ready for row 5. Okay, now we're ready for row 5, and here's where we're going to stop decreasing. So I'm going to go ahead and just chain 2 and go ahead and start my link double crochet and into the very first stitch, so we're not skipping it anymore. I'm going to go ahead and start working all of my stitches just like we did down here. So no more decreasing all the way to the top. So just match the number of rows you worked, starting with row 5 on the back panel. Go ahead and match that for the front panel, okay? That part is not going to change. I can tell that I need to work the back loop on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to keep doing that. I believe for me it was an additional 8 rows. I wrote it down. For me it was 9 rows, and that gave me a measurement of 9.25 for the total armhole area. So just match that. Whatever you did on the back panel, do that on the front panel. Okay, and then do it again, because you need 2 front panels, obviously. I don't know why I even said that. Obviously, we need 2 front panels. We need 2 pockets, 2 front panels, and 2 sleeves. Unless there is a reason why you don't need 2 sleeves. But I would say everybody, regardless of their circumstances, will at least need 2 front panels, maybe not 2 pockets, but 2 front panels. I have no idea where this conversation suddenly veered off to. I literally do not. Okay, I'm going to keep working, and I will be back whenever I have completed my roughly 9.25 inches. I'll be back. Silly, I also had to turn my work inside out. So I'm going to be working on this side. So now my work is turned inside out, and I'm going to match the armhole to the armhole. There we go. And I'm going to stitch it with a single crochet stitch across the top there. But first I'm going to use stitch markers to put everything together, to hold everything in place. Okay, so I have everything lined up, ready to go. Here we go. Okay, so I ended over here on this side. I need to turn it all around. Okay. I don't know why I keep trying to sing in these videos. I've never never been able to keep a tune. Oh well. Okay, so just by eyeballing it, I can see, and relaxing, you know, not tugging or pulling on anything. I can see I pretty much have a stitch. Oops, there you go. I pretty much have a pretty even stitch for stitch going, so I'm not going to worry about counting it. And I'm going to loop that through onto my hook. Pull that on through, chain 1, and work a single crochet through those same stitches right there. Okay, so I'm just going to work 1 single crochet through both loops on each side all the way down. Okay, I'll be right back when I get down to the end, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. It's all pretty seamless. Okay, so now that we have seamed the 2 shoulder panels together, let's go ahead and work 1 round of single crochet, joining the armpit area down here at the bottom. So I'm just going to chain 1, and since these are sides of double crochet, I'm just going to work a stitch in wherever it will go, making sure that I keep nice even spacing. And it's working out really well. I can see that that's going to be a space I can work into right there. And then right next to it right there. And then again right here. So it's working out pretty well. Don't have to try too hard to figure out the even spacing. It's just sort of happening, which is always nice when working on the sides of stitches. So on my first sleeve, I started off with 51 single crochet. So we'll see how many I will have at this point. I would like to have 51 again, so I might work it out to where I have 51. Might try to make that happen if it doesn't happen automatically. Because as much as we like these things to be sisters, they always wind up being cousins. They never quite match exactly, but we can make it work. We can make them match. There we go. Okay, so I'm down here. Here's actually, this is what I had to do on the other sleeve. Because I don't want there to be a sharp angle here, I'm going to go ahead and do a single crochet together. So a single crochet decrease. So I'm going to go into this stitch just before my 7 slip stitches here. I'm going to go in and pull up a loop. Now I'm going to go into one of my slip stitches and pull up a loop and join those together. This will create a little bit more of a rounding right here. It will get rid of that, you know. Okay. So I've got 1 slip stitch left here on the end and 1 slip stitch here on the beginning of this side, and I'm going to also join those 2 together in a decrease. So this is what I did on the other side. Go in, draw up a loop, go into this first slip stitch on this side, and you can see right where we're at. These are where we had to start our 7 slip stitches before we started the armhole area. Okay, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. Now that is joined in holy stitchimony. Okay, continue to work my single crochet. Of course, I'm also going to join this area so that I don't have an L shape there, but more rounded. So here we go. So with my last slip stitch, so here's my second to last. Okay, my last slip stitch on this side. And then I'm going to skip over this little valley here, draw up a loop first. There is basically a stitch like right here I could work into, but I'm going to jump over it to this stitch here, 3 on the hook. Now that's going to be smoothened out. More smooth. Smoothed out. You know, I don't talk so swell sometimes. I swear I just heard a kitten go meow. I can't tell if that's outside my front door or in a video. I'll be right back. I mean, it's like 91 degrees out there, so I'm going to go see if there's a kitten out front. Hang on. Okay, no kitten. Let me tell you a sad truth about the desert. It's very rare for you to see stray animals around, especially if they are baby animals, because we have got a very healthy hawk and eagle population out here that swoops up anything. We always see a lot of dogs go missing. It's never big dogs. It's always little dogs, you know, Yorkies and Shih Tzus, and we always see missing cats. It's unfortunate, but if your cat is missing in the Arizona desert, if your little dog is missing, you're probably never going to see it again. It was probably swooped up by one of those large predator birds. Okay, I thought I could have sworn I heard a kitten, but it might have been a video one of my boys in the other room was watching. All right, last stitch right here. And before I join them, I'm going to count and see what my stitch count is. I may undo some of these to try to make 51 stitches because I want it to match the other side. So I will be right back. I'm going to count these up real quick. I wound up with 55 stitches, so I'm going to undo some of these so that I start with 51. Okay, so I have my 51 stitches. So now I'm just going to go ahead and join into my first single crochet. Before we continue on with the rest of the sleeve, while we still have the jacket turned inside out, let's go ahead and seam up the side of the jacket and just have that part done. So I'm going to grab another ball of the same yarn and just go ahead and join. That is the bottom there, I think. Yeah. There we go. Join on both sides. Okay. Nice long tail for sewing in. Chain one, go back into the same stitch, work a single crochet. Let's work a single crochet seam all the way up to the armpit. So just like before, do your best to match stitch for stitch. And just a simple single crochet join. Okay, so I will be right back. I'm going to go ahead and work this all the way up to the armpit. Okay, so now the side seam is completely sewn up, and when I tried it on, I wasn't perfectly comfortable with the length, so I did go ahead and add another, I just turned the work upside down and I added another row of linked double crochet at the bottom to give me a little bit more length. Now it sits perfect where I want it. So, you know, just tailor it to your fit. All right, now with the sleeves, what I'm gonna do is turn my work right side out. I'm going to go ahead and tie off this portion because I don't want to stop. Forgive me, I don't want to start at the top of the sleeve where you can see the seam a bit. I want to start down here at the armpit where you can't see the seam. So let's go ahead and rejoin down at the bottom portion. I'll show you what that bottom seam looks like on the other sleeve. So here is the armpit where we're going to join, and here is that seam, and it's not so bad. We get a nice straight seam. We get a nice straight seam that doesn't veer off to the side because we're going to be turning at every row instead of just working in a continuous round. Okay. So here is the side of my jacket where I seamed it up. Follow that all the way up to the armpit and go ahead and join. I'm going to join with a fairly long tail for good solid weaving in. And actually, I want to join right over the top of that seam, right there. Okay. And I'm going to start with a chain 2 for my builder. And we're going to work 4 rows with no decreases to start. And really, you can customize this to you. I did that for myself. I customized it for myself. I have fairly chunky arms on top. So how I did this sleeve on this side is I would work 4 rows and then work 1 decrease. 4 rows, 1 decrease, 4 rows, 1 decrease. Then I stopped decreasing all the way to the wrist. So, and it fits my arm very, very well, very, very comfortably, without it being too loose and baggy, and it's not chunky under the armpit. You have great mobility with it. So that's the basic formula for the sleeve that I came up with. The pattern calls for you to make a flat panel and do decreasings on occasion, much like I did, but it wasn't quite so every four rows. I just found that it worked better this way. You don't have to sew the sleeve on. You don't have to sew the seam up. I found that this was easier to just simply work the sleeve like this. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let's see, I think I wrote down how many rows. Again, this fits me, okay? So you'll have to do this for yourself to what will fit you. So for the sleeves, right, that's what I wrote down. Link double crochet 4 rows, decrease on the 5th round. Then I put, again, double crochet 4 rounds, decrease on the 5th, repeat that 2 more times. Then I did ever so slightly decrease randomly by 1 stitch on 1 or 2 rows because I still felt like it was a little too wide to the wrist area. So that I did essentially to taste, you know, as they say in cooking, add salt to taste. I did that to taste. I just kept trying it on and going, I think I want this to be a little bit smaller. And so that's what I did. I don't really have a way of showing you that because it's to taste. Then it said here, sleeves should be 25 rows and then start the cuff. So that is exactly what I did with this sleeve here. It was 25 rows. The first half of the sleeve was quite formulaic. After that, I would just try it on and say, well, that's still a little too, like I didn't want my cuff to be this wide. So on occasion, I would just reduce a stitch here and there to make sure that by the time I got down to the cuff area, it was manageable for me. And you know, I'm going to try this whole jacket on for you at the end, but this is how it wound up looking for me. So you can imagine at this point right here, I didn't want the sleeve to be this wide down here. So I just took it upon myself to, don't you just love that fuzziness? I just took it upon myself to reduce when needed. And so that's what I would recommend for you. It makes it bespoke in a way. Okay, so once you make it back around to the beginning, be sure to count your stitches. If you're starting off with 51 like me, make sure that you're maintaining 51. Now, if you're working link double crochet, just go ahead and chain 2 for your builder, and then we're going to turn everything. That way we keep our line going in a straight line. And then go ahead and in your first chain, draw up your first loop, and into that same stitch. Don't skip it or else you will be decreasing. There you go. And then we just go. And I started off with, so yes, I need to work back loop and then front. So, okay, I'm going to do this for the remainder of the sleeve, decreasing as I need. Once I get past my series of 4 rounds, then a decrease. I'm just going to do that at my discretion to fit me. Okay, I will see you all in just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I have worked the length I want to get to the point where I'm working on my cuff. And just for reference, if you're trying to follow along with my exact measurements, this sleeve measures out. Make sure I'm not stretching it, I'm just keeping it relaxed. The sleeve before the cuff measures out at 16 inches. And then after the cuff, because I already have this one here done. After the cuff, it measures out at 19 inches, okay? I know you couldn't see that again. I've got a little setup here, but we make it work. So that's just if you're following my size. Okay, so here's how we're going to do the cuff. We're going to alternate every other row-ish. Okay, let's start with a chain of 10, chain of 9, forgive me, chain of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oops. Wrong hook. Okay, we need to switch to the 5mm hook, or if you're using a thinner yarn, just go 1 whole hook size down smaller. So if you're already using a 5, then switch to a 4. Okay, so now with my 5mm, I will chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to use that 9th chain as our turning chain, and in the back loop, let's work 1 row of single crochet all the way down to the base. So that'll be 8 single crochets. And this is how we're going to do the hem along the entire bottom of the jacket as well. Okay, so right there, my last chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now we have the stitch that we are coming out of right now. This is the stitch that we are already working in. This stitch is considered already worked. So now let's move up. We're going to work a slip stitch into the next stitch up. So here's the stitch we're already working in. So now the next stitch over, work a slip stitch, and the next stitch over, work a slip stitch. Turn, count those 2 slip stitches back because we're not going to work in them. So 1, 2, and there is the stitch working in the back loop only to create that ribbing. Let's work 8 single crochets all the way to the end. Every other row, when I say every other row, I guess I should say every 2 rows, because technically this is a row we just worked, going to the end. Now, whenever we come up, instead of skipping 2 stitches, we're going to skip 3. Then the next time we're going to skip stitches on the actual work, we'll just skip 2. So we'll do 2, then 3, 2, then 3, 2, then 3. The reason we're doing that is because we don't want a cuff that's just as wide as the sleeve. We want one that's a little more tapered in, a little bit tighter. It's not tight by no means, but it's a little tighter so that, it has some hold to it. It has that sleeve shape to it. Because if all we did was move up 2 stitches every time, this would wind up being basically the same width as the sleeve itself, the cuff. So we don't want that. So I don't chain whenever I turn. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't. I just turn, and then I'm going to work into the whole stitch on the first stitch of every time I'm on this end. I'm always going to work through the whole stitch. It just creates a cleaner edge, as you can see there. We don't have any strands or strings. It's just a nice clean edge that requires no cleaning up. Okay, now for the next 7 stitches, we work through just the back loop only. I feel like I only worked through the back loop on that one down there. It's fine. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 1 more stitch I need to work, back loop only. Okay, now this time, I'm all twisted up. Now this time I'm going to slip stitch 3 stitches on my sleeve. I'm going to work 3 of those. So here we go. And bear in mind, we don't work into the stitch we're already worked into. If you just pull up on it a little bit, you can see your work is in that stitch. So we don't work into that. It's already worked. So let's move up. 1, 2, 1 more, and 3. Then I turn and I count 3 stitches back. 1, 2, 3. So this is my first stitch right here, and I'm going to work back loop only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then through the whole stitch. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Okay, I didn't count my first stitch. Now through the whole stitch, I will work the 8th stitch. Then without chaining, I turn and then through the whole stitch again, work my first single crochet, then back loop only for the next 7 stitches, equaling a total of 8. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 total. Now I'm only going to skip 2 stitches up. So when I pull up a little bit, I can see this stitch is already worked. So jumping up, I'm going to work 1 and 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and count 2 stitches, 2 slip stitches back, 1, 2, there's my first stitch, back loop only, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then through the whole stitch, 8, no chain, and I've got to look at my sleeve is all, I got to twist this whole thing around. Okay, so I will turn, and again through the whole stitch. Do you see how clean this edge is though? Look how clean, straight this edge is. It doesn't need any cleaning up. It's beautiful. In my absolutely humble and totally biased opinion, work my way back over, and I can tell this little tiny hidden stitch in here is my last stitch. Now I'm going to skip 3. 1, 2, 3. So doing 2 one time, 3 another time, this again allows it to kind of gather the wide sleeve in just a little bit. Oh, slip stitch. 1, 2, 3, and turn. And count 3 slip stitches back. 1, 2, 3. That's my stitch right here. Back loop only. There we go. So I'm going to continue to do this all around. When I get to the last row here, I'll show you how we join this, and we're going to join it on the outside where everybody and their sister who's going to judge you can see. But no one will know. No one will notice that it's a seam. Because you've been looking at the seam on this one while I was wearing it. You were looking at the seam and you didn't notice. I promise you didn't notice. Don't tell me you did. I promise you didn't notice. Here, I'll put it on the right way. Just a moment. There you go. You can't see that seam anywhere. You don't know which one is the seam. You do not. Brenda, you don't. Mary, Nope, Alice, don't go there. Nuh-uh, not today. You can't see that seam. So we're going to do a seam on the outside that nobody will see. And I'm not going to point out which one it is. I love you guys. Okay, well, we have completely lost the sunshine, so now we're working with my poorly lit living room light. So here we go. We have, this one's already worked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitch. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left. Sorry. So I already worked. This stitch here is where I skipped 2. So now I need to skip 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'll go ahead and do that like usual. 1, 2, 3. Then work my way up, skip my 3 slip stitches, 1, 2, 3, and right there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then through the whole stitch, 8. Don't chain. Turn my work. Sorry. I got a whole sweater in my lap. Okay. Then work my way back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then that's my last stitch there. That's 8. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into my last stitch right here, and then turn. I'm going to go ahead and work up and down one more time, only skipping one slip stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Turn without chaining. Flip this whole sweater over. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so now that we've made it all the way back down to the bottom, let's go ahead and slip stitch into what looks like a stitch right here. That just anchors us down between both panels. Okay, so in order to work a visible seam, not a visible seam, but a seam that's going to be on the outside, we want to hide as much of these stitches as possible. So on the portion of the cuff closest to you, on the half closest to you, go front loop. On the half furthest away from you, go back loop. Let's go ahead and we're going to work a slip stitch. And then again, we're going to work front loop. And then on this side here, we work back loop. Slip stitch, front loop, and then back. Front, back, all the way to the end. Obviously, isn't it funny how people in these tutorials always say all the way to the end? Like, no, stop halfway. That's pretty good. Okay, let's move on to the next. Just kidding. Just seems kind of funny, huh? Okay. Speaking of funny, I seem to have lost my footing. Oh, goodness gracious me. Okay. Just a moment, technical difficulties. Let's try this again, Karina. I'm supposed to be the person teaching this. Front loop, okay, and then back loop. There. It wasn't lining up stitch for stitch, so I couldn't quite figure out where I went wrong there, but somewhere, somehow I surely did. Okay. I skipped a whole stitch is what I did, thinking it was already worked in. Goofy. Oh, shoot. Okay, here we go. Front loop, back. Got our technical difficulties worked out. Back, resume regular programming. Okay, front, back. There we go. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Do that again. Okay, and then on the last stitch, we do front and back, no different. There we go. And ma'am, right? You can say it, it's okay. You can say it, right? That's how you work a seam on the outside that everybody and their auntie is going to be looking for. Oh, you made that, huh? Let me look at it. Go ahead, auntie. What you see? That's right. Congratulate me tomorrow. I don't know. Weaving your ends. I'm moving on. Look, I'm hungry, okay? I've got the hunger goofies going right now. My husband's getting ready to cook some hamburgers, and I kind of am thinking about that at the moment. I'm hamburger consumed in the brain. Both sleeves are done. So now we're going to work on to, I need to eat. Now we're going to move on to a quick trimming job around the whole front panels and everything. Well, let me just show you. Okay, so here is the cardigan. Thus far, we're going to work a quick trim all around the neck. So from one point here, all the way up, around, and back down again. It's your choice entirely if you want to do single crochet or double or half double crochet. What I mean by that is go ahead and try it on and act like it's where you want it to be, like with the zipper and everything. Are you happy with how loose it is or how tight it is? If it's still a little too tight for your taste, work some half double crochets. That'll give you another, like slightly more than an inch. If you think it's perfect just the way it is, work some single crochets. It's not going to grow that much, maybe by half an inch. And there you go. I, on the other hand, have a big old Buddha belly these days. Not really. I mean, but I have, you know, a little bit of, yeah, I'm in my 40s, so I'm starting to fill out a little bit in my midsection. So I'm going to go ahead and add a half double crochet clean up here. So I'm going to go back to that 6 millimeter. We're going to need the smaller hook again when we start working that exact same ribbing all along the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and join and start working some half double crochets, because whenever I did try this on, it wasn't tight, but it wasn't as relaxed as I wanted it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just make these stitches a bit bigger. So start off with the yarn over, and I'm going to work those half double crochets all around. Everywhere that looks like a stitch gets a half double. All around the neck too. And this is the portion right here where the zipper is going to go. Okay, guys, so I'm going to work this all around. I will see you after dinner. Okay, so I know I always say, okay, so, right? At some point, someone's going to turn that into a drinking game. Ladies, let's not. Oh, right. So, how's that one? I finished my half double crochets. I went ahead and just worked single crochets just from the shoulder seam. So my shoulder seam, just along the very back of the neck. I didn't need that to have any more bulkiness. I like where that sits. So I only did single crochets, but everything else I did half doubles. I tried it on and it fits perfect. Okay, so this is all that I have left. So whenever I use this up, I will have used a total of 1,040 yards, and I still have to finish. I already made one pocket. I still need to make another pocket, and I still need to make my hoodie. Okay, let's get into the pocket now. Now, because this is so small, of course, I had to adjust the original pattern to make it fit right. So they want you to start off with 3 rows. I started off with 6, and then I followed the rest of the pattern as written. I will say though, my section right here wound up slightly longer, but it worked out because it wound up being in the same position on the jacket as this one. So that's okay, just right under, just a little under the breast area. So that's, you know, just above the navel area. So that's fine. Worked out for me. So what we're going to do is start with the exact same chain count as your front panel. So for me, that was 32 chains to equal just over 11 inches, 11 1/4. And yeah, my nail color has changed. You'll notice the last mystery video, my yarn just got in today. So I got a whole box of just this stuff right here in different colors. Oh man, I love this stuff. I fell so deeply in love. Okay, so 32 chains. So for me, that's actually going to be 30 stitches plus 2 for my builder. Okay, I will be right back. Okay, so like I said, the pattern calls for working 3 rows of the stitch pattern. Of course, I worked 6 because I'm making a much longer torso area than the original child pattern. Very deceptive child pattern. So you can do that as well if you're following my measurements, or you can just go based on your own measurements and see if you want to do 4 rows or 5 rows, or if you have a really long torso, maybe you do 7 or 8 rows. Then we're going to follow what the pattern has written down for the rest of the pocket. Okay, so I will be back whenever I have a total of 6 rows done. So now I have my 6 rows done. Let's go ahead and chain 2 for the builder. If you're doing link double crochet, you can do stacked singles for your first double crochet. If not, okay, and we're going to work. You can work 13 or 14. I know I've got a lovely knot right there. You can work 13 or 14 double crochet across, just depending on how deep over you want your pocket. I'll show you what it is we're doing. I've got my other, I already sewed this one on. Here we go. So this is basically what we're doing now. Here's the first row. So you're going to work 13 or 14 double crochet over. Then we're going to come up and we're going to work some decreases and then no more decreases. Then we're going to work the contrast color. So that gives you just a basic overview, a visual of what we're doing. So let's go ahead and work those double crochet. I think I'm going to work 14 across, and that knot is going to be a daisy. Oh, that's so ugly. It's just right there. Maybe this will be the back of my pocket. Did I yarn over? Because if I did, I surely didn't mean to. Oh, that's ugly. Well, if it's going to be the back of my pocket, I'll leave it as is. If this winds up being the front of my pocket, I'll just push it back like this. And then boom, you won't be able to see it. In the meantime, I'll leave it as is. Boy, oh boy, is it ugly though. Oh, that kind of hit it. Look at that. Now it's between both stitches and it kind of hit it. Yay. Nope, there it is. It popped right back out again. It just popped right back out again. Oh well, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so I'll be right back. I'm going to work the rest of my 13 or 14 double crochet. And silly me, I wasn't working front loop and back loop. I was so focused on that knot. I failed to work the stitch pattern. So, oh, it's just stuck in there. That knot, oh my goodness. Okay, so yes, we are meant to continue the stitch pattern working front loop, back loop. So I need to work front loop here. And now back loop. And somehow that changed the position of the knot. Now it's back here. The saga of the knot. Okay. Now I will be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and worked 13 double crochet and I started my next. We're going to do a decrease. So I guess I didn't need to start that so I could show you. So let's go ahead and work a double crochet, link double crochet decrease. So pull up your loop, go into the next stitch. I would work through the full stitch. Pull up 2. Now your forward bar right here. Go ahead and yarn over and pull up another loop. Next stitch over, pull up a loop, pull through 2. Now pull through all 3. There we go. Okay, let's turn. I chained 2 for my builder. There we go. We're going to skip over the top of the decrease and then start working our pattern as usual with nothing special on the end. Okay, so I need to work a front loop here and back loop. And there we go. I will be back when I get to the end of this row and then we will work the next row together. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this row as usual with no decrease, but we're going to end with a decrease. Here we go, and okay, I can see I have my loop there, so therefore I need to start in the front to keep it consistent. Okay. So when we get to the end of this row, we will work another decrease. And then whenever you chain and turn, skip your decrease stitch and then work all the way to the end. So that's going to be this row and the next. You will end with the decrease and essentially start with the decrease. By skipping that first stitch, you're starting with the decrease. Okay, so I will see you decrease these last 2 stitches, chain, turn, skip your first decrease stitch and work all the way to the end. So I will see you when we are done going forward, up, and coming back. Okay, so now we're not going to work any more decreases. So just continue to work your rows, the first stitch and the last stitch, without decreasing at all. So you're going to work into your last stitch. And I continued to work until I had a total of 10 inches from the very, oops, let me just get this sideways for you. From the very bottom of my pocket here up. So I think that was an additional 4 or 5 more rows, but I made it based on inches rather than how many rows. So I worked it until I had 10 inches because I wanted that to be 10 inches so that it was sitting about as high as it looks in the photo of the original pattern. So that's, you know, you can, and if you, I have kind of a long torso. So if you have a short torso, maybe just go to 8 inches or 8.5 inches or 9 inches. It's entirely up to you. This is one of those situations where you just sort of wing it. Make it to your own special measurements. So, but that is what I did. I just continued to work rows without increasing until I reached a grand total of 10 inches. So I will be back whenever I have achieved 10 inches in height worked. Okay, so now I have 10 inches worked. I did not complete my last stitch because here's where we're going to work a color change. So I'm going to complete my last stitch with the new color. And I always leave really long tails for good secure weaving in, especially something that's going to be worn. It's going to be washed. And you really want to make sure that you weave in a nice long tail. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to work double crochets or your link double crochets. Okay. And we're not going to work any kind of increase or decrease here, but we are going to work a bit around this corner here so that we can create a rounded corner. So here we go. I'm not going to worry about front loop, back loop, because this is a border. So just working through both loops. And we can cut this. We no longer need this. And there was my scissors. So 1 double crochet or link double crochet across the top. Okay, now we have got no stitch here on the corner. So let's work 2, just regular double crochet. So if you are working the link double crochet, don't worry about linking this part up, just yarn over, work 2 double crochet into the same stitch, which will be your last stitch across the top. Now let's turn, yarn over and into what would be the first stitch along the side, right there. Work 3 double crochet for a total of 5 to create a nice rounded corner. This part is not in the pattern. This is just something that I came up with in the pattern. They want a single crochet border, but when I started doing that, it created a really, first of all, the texture didn't match and it looked really odd. That's just my opinion. You can, if you pick up the pattern, you can do it exactly the way they describe. But it also made it a little tight and it caused the pocket to buckle just a little. So that's why I decided to go with keeping the same style of double crochet. Now we're going to work double crochets all the way down and over. But when we get to these portions right here, let's work a decrease. That way we can smooth this out, or else it will look like this. You know what I mean? So let's work one double. Actually, we can, well, yeah, we can link from here. So when you want to start a link double crochet, just go ahead and pick a bar like right there on your last double crochet. And don't yarn over, Karina. And then just go ahead and there you go. Now it's linked. And just start working wherever your stitches will fit. There you go. That looks really good. In fact, I'll just hang out here with you. I'm almost to that point anyway. May not need to work a decrease in this section. It seems pretty smooth already. But certainly this next section down here will need it. So I think I'm just going to work this section as normal. Nope. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. I don't think it will look too jagged. Okay, so now we are at this point right here. So let's do this. Go into the next, what looks like a stitch over, draw up a loop, then, just like we did before, going through that forward loop right there, pull up another loop, skip over this, and then come into the next stitch over, pull through all three. And there we go, and that should round things out in a very soft way. And yeah, we didn't have to work a decrease here. That looks good. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to work all the way to the end and then turn and work one more row of linked double crochet. And when you get to this corner here, stop working your links and just work your 5 stitches as normal. You don't have to work any more increases or anything like that. Okay, so when you get here, turn and work another row. Why do you look like that? What happened here? Well, golly. Oh, it's not linked. Oh, I'm going to go back and fix that real quick. But whenever you work your way back up again, just work over your 5 stitches like normal, no increases. Just work over each 5 stitch as it sits. Don't worry about working linked double crochet there, and then work to the end, and then that's it. No, it's not. And then come on back, and we're going to do one more thing, and then we will move on to the lower hem, the ribbing along the bottom of the jacket. Okay, second row all done. Everything is looking really good, but since I already made one pocket and stitched it on, what I'm going to do and what I suggest you do is go ahead and cut and then join your yarn down here at the bottom, since this is the front facing of my pocket. So this is the side that's going to go on the inside of the jacket, like what I mean where the zipper is. So I need to work a row of slip stitches all the way across. Not only will it stabilize the pocket, but it will be a nice, pretty texture to look at. You don't have to do this, but I do recommend it. So we can't just turn and work the slip stitch, because then the slip stitches would show on the side where the other pocket needs to be. So we want this side. Okay, so go ahead and join again. This is entirely cosmetic and optional, although it will add a little bit of stability to the pocket. It'll just finish it up. So chain one, go back into the same stitch and work a slip stitch, and then work one slip stitch into every stitch across, and then spend some time to weave in all of your tails. Come on back whenever you're done, and again, there's no any kind of increasing or decreasing. These are just slip stitches into every stitch across. Whenever you're done, come back and we will work the bottom ribbing hem all along the entire bottom of the jacket. And this is where you're going to do your final try on before finishing off the bottom of that jacket. And so I will show you that on camera, how it fits on me so far before I add the bottom hem. With something like this, you pretty much have to try it on all the time to make sure that it's fitting right. Okay, I will be right back. Okay, so here is mine. It looks more like a cardigan than anything else right now, but you want to try it on one more time to make sure that it is at the length. Remember, we're going to add an additional 2 inches for that ribbed like hem. So just wherever you're at now, add another 2 inches. So that'll come halfway across my hip dips. You know, hip dips, you know, they so that is where I am at right now. And remember, if it's not as long as you want, you can always turn it upside down and keep working rows down to make it even longer. So there we go. What do you think so far? There's the pocket. We got to sew the pocket on. I'm a big fat liar. We have to sew the pocket on before we work the ribbing. But there it is so far without the hood and with just one pocket. So let's get back over to the couch and let's get our pocket sewed on. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to film some of this under the camera. It's a big bulky jacket all over here. I just like shoved a bunch of stuff to the side to make room for it. Okay, so with my long tail here, because I'm going to start with the green gray, I'm just going to go through this stitch. Let me make sure that I'm perfectly lined up without any stretching or pulling. I do need that to be up ever so slightly. Okay, and that puts me at this stitch right here. Go through the back of this stitch, and let's just pull that tail on through there because we need this to be at the back of our work. Okay, come down through the next group of stitches, so here and here, and pull that on through and keep it on your hook. Then come down through the next set of stitches and work a slip stitch. And then this will be my last green stitch. So there and there. But I'm going to pull the white through, complete that last stitch with the white. Pull that on through, complete my slip stitch. Okay. And the reason I'm doing this on the outside is because it's going to clean up this chunky mess with slip stitches. It's not going to completely clean it up, but it'll make it look a little neater. Okay, so we're working on the sides of double crochets, so we just have to do our best to match stitch for stitch as best that we can with slip stitches. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to work this down to the corner. Then you just come around And when we get down to the bottom, I'm going to show you how we do this because we don't want to work in these stitches here. These stitches are reserved for our ribbing. So we're actually going to be working a little lower than that. And I'll show you on the other side of the jacket what I mean. You see how we need to reserve these stitches right here. Have to be reserved. This is the bottom of the jacket. So we are going to be working these a little higher. Okay, made my way to the bottom and see how that just kind of cleans up the edge a little bit. Okay, so in order to pull this off, you need to make a long loop. Bring it down in between these two pieces here. Bring it down there and then pull it up. Where is my first stitch? Right there. Let's pull it up. That way we have something to work with. Okay, now we have our loop on the top and we have our working yarn on the bottom. Let's go into the next stitch over, and then we need to come down and make sure that we stay below these stitches here. We need those for our ribbing. It's kind of strange to watch me work with the pencil style, huh? Feels a little strange. Okay. I gotta go back. I gotta go back to working like this. I'm sorry. I can't do it. There we go. So now we're just tacking it on there. I'm really not paying attention to what stitch on the bottom I'm going through because it genuinely does not matter. Just get it in there. Because you're not really going to see it anyways, and it looks great. It looks fine. So work my way across the bottom, keeping these stitches here totally free and open to be worked into, which they will be worked into next. Okay, guys, so you're just going to continue to work across and up this way, and then work your contrasting color over the contrasting stitches, and then that's it. Then come on back and we will do the ribbing. Okay, I got my pocket on, so let's go ahead and start working out this ribbing. I'm losing the sunlight. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna start on an outside stitch. So here is the inside of the jacket where the zipper is gonna go. Surprisingly, I'm actually gonna start right here. I already practiced with this, so I know this was gonna work out. Wait till you see how cool this is. So naturally, this first row is going to go this way. Let's start just like with the cuff. Let's start with 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's work our first, oh, I'm using the wrong hook, y'all. Switching again to that 5mm hook. So my bad. Okay, once again, here we go. Starting on the last stitch down here is the pocket, the corner. This is where the zipper goes. That very bottom last stitch completely going the opposite direction we want to work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and work single crochets back. 1, need 8 of them. 2, so that was the second chain from the hook. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, And then down here at the bottom, where is my, okay, nope, there we go, 8. Now, jumping over here onto this side, here is the bottom of the pocket. Now we're going to start working along across the bottom. Okay, jump straight into this first stitch. Now we won't be working back loop, front loop. We're just going to work through both loops. So slip stitch and slip stitch. And I'm going to start actually with 3 slip stitches. So we are going to alternate 2, then 3, 2, then 3. Okay, so you can see my work is just going off the wrong direction. But we're going to yank it up whenever we start working our single crochet back down, and I'll show you what this accomplishes. So I'm going to count my 3 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3. There's my first stitch right there. Now on the ribbing itself, we will work through back loop only. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then through both loops, just like we did on the wrist. That's 8 without chaining. Turn. Coming back down through both loops again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, we can pull up a little and see this is the stitch we're already working in. So now we're going to slip stitch through the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. You can see what this accomplishes by starting on the very last stitch that's going that way. So it's literally one of these stitches here where the zipper is going to go. And then you yank it up this way. You force this clean blend right here, which is where the zipper will go. Let me grab the zipper, and you can see I'm not forcing it to go one way or another. It's very naturally just very straight. If you don't do this, you're going to have a very dramatic dent like that. And your zipper has to go here. So it makes putting the zipper on kind of a headache. Okay, so here is my zipper. And now you can see how easy it's going to be for me to apply the zipper without having to do too much radical manipulation. It's just going to go right on. See there? Well, I tell you what, them fuzzies might get locked in that zipper at times. I didn't think about that before. Here, let me see if I can zoom you down in there so you can see what it is I'm showing you. See there? So that's going to make applying the zipper so easy. And when I let it go, you can see that line is staying straight. So that's why I had you start off to the side. Okay, let's continue to work skipping, or not skipping, but slip stitching twice, and then the next time 3 times, just like we did on the cuff, on the sleeve cuff, until we have worked all the way around. Oh, let me, no, now you zoomed all the way in. Okay, till we've worked all the way around. But before you do this, double check and make sure that it's the length you want, because that's last chance station. You know what I mean? So once you've made sure you're at the length you want, work the rest of your ribbing around the bottom, and then we will work the hood portion. Then all that's left is a zipper. I don't think there's any drawstrings. And even if there are, I don't care. I literally never use drawstrings. If you want drawstrings, go for it. I never use them. So the hood and the zipper is pretty much all we have left. Okay, so I'm basically done. No, I don't have a hood. I'll explain whenever I get back over to the couch. I'm going to invoke some birthday girl privileges again. Okay, so James, if you want to get a little close. I have the ribbing done all around. I have zipper is intact. There we go. It does catch on the fuzzies, so I've got to take some scissors and trim the fuzzies right along here. But there it is. You guys let me know what you think. It doesn't have a hood. Again, I'm going to explain when I get back over to the couch. But oh my gosh, this is the absolute snuggliest thing. It feels like wearing a fluffy, warm bunny blanket. Okay, so here it is. Here's me. Okay, let's go back over to the couch. Okay, so why did I opt to forego the hood? I'm going to give you the simple and straight. I got tired of fussing with it. It just kept coming out the wrong size over and over and over again. Remember, I am turning a child's pattern into an adult pattern. Surely I screwed it up at some point. I mixed too many of these ingredients and not enough of those ingredients, and the casserole is burnt, the turkey is burnt, the potatoes are lumpy. So I just got tired after an hour and 20 minutes of fussing with that hood, making it, unmaking it, especially with this yarn that sticks to itself. I said, you know what? I don't mind it without a hood. I'm done. I'm burnt and I'm sick of it. I've been working on this for 10 days. I love this thing so much, though. Oh my gosh, the yarn is unbelievable. The pattern is actually really, really good. If you're making it for a child, it's going to be a banger of a pattern to follow. It's very laid out very well in very simple terms. But with me altering it to adult size and then doing a lot of my own thing with it, again, too many of these ingredients and not enough of those ingredients. And this area here, it's just not constructed right. Here, I'll pull this down so you can see. It's just too narrow, not constructed quite right for a hood. Perfect for a cardigan, not for a hood. So I just got tired of fussing with it, and so I am foregoing the hood. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to hold those instructions up for you if you want to try to add the hood. So here you go. Okay, these are the instructions for the hood right here to here. Okay, so I'll hold that up for you. Okay, you can just pause the screen there and write down what you need to write down. But after 10, it's after midnight, it's 1 a.m., so officially 10 days, I'm throwing in the towel as far as the hood goes. I love this as a zip-up front pouch cardigan. It is super, super cute. I can't wait till it gets cold enough to actually wear this out and about and regularly. Although with my AC vent aimed right on me where I work, I might be wearing this a little bit here and there when not dealing with the hot flash. So I love this. I like the colors. I love the deep set pockets. They're so fun. Okay, I am going to have this pattern available if you want to pick it up. Again, it's for children. It doesn't say what age of children, but I can assure you it's for children or very small women. Very, 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 very small, short women. But I would say it would be great for children aged 10 to probably 15. So your preteens to teens. Okay, guys, I love you so, so much. Thanks always for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Remember, you can pick up this pattern. There will be a link in the description box down below. Love you!